Fox News Facebook page. Terrestrial radio, 3 dozen markets across the great United States of America, but always on demand by subscribing at Apple or on Spotify. Jump into the comments section on Facebook. Jump into the comments section on YouTube. We'll work you into the show. We'll also call you a member of the Willisha. Fellas, tinfoil, two-a-days. We do have some certified members, growing members of the Willisha that we discovered last week. I think it's fair to say that, and I don't think I'm betraying confidences, to reveal that among the members of the Willisha, we can count those that ride Air Force One.
Wow.
We can count the President of the United States.
That's pretty crazy.
Last week on the Will Cain Show, I was talking about the Alcatraz Island Migrant Facility, illegal immigrant detention facility in Florida. Middle of the Everglades, guards, fences, and then 30 miles of swamp and alligators. President Donald Trump is scheduled to visit this week what they're calling Alligator Alcatraz. And talking about it last week on the Will Cain Show, I said, reminds me of a scene from a movie. I just can't remember the movie. Something in the scene was to the effect of, if you can get past the guards, if you can get past the walls, then you only have to contend with the miles and miles of jungle and deadly animals between you and freedom. And I couldn't remember the name of the movie. By the end of the Will Cain Show, I looked at my phone and I had a text message that read as following: Will, the movie you're thinking of is Papillon, starring Steve McQueen. Great movie. Your favorite president, Donald J. Trump.
I didn't believe it at first. I didn't.
Not only is he watching, but he's leaving a comment. He's interacting with the show.
He's in the chat.
I think that makes him. He's in the chat. I think that makes him a member of the Willisha. He's right, by the way. The movie that was in my head was Papillon. I'm going to admit something to you that I would not admit to the President of the United States. I've never seen it with Steve McQueen. But I did see the remake recently with Charlie Hunnam, the star of Sons of Anarchy. He redid the movie. It's a really good movie. Even in the remake, I'm sure anybody that's a big fan of Steve McQueen will tell me it's a horrible remake of Papillon. But since I don't have any context of the first version from the 1970s, this one I thought was pretty good. It's a French guy that gets sent to prison on an island off the coast of Guyana, French Guiana, and it's about the escape attempts. And I do believe it's also based upon a true story. It's based upon the real life of a guy from Paris who had multiple escape attempts, whose nickname, because of a butterfly tattoo, was Papillon. And I would encourage everyone to watch that movie. I think, as would member of the Willisha, your favorite president, Donald J. Trump. POTUS, watching, jumping into the chat from Air Force One. I spent the weekend, fellas, in Seattle. Youth soccer tournament this weekend. I only got to make it for one game. I have my duties. I have my job. Tournament that lasts well over like 5, 6, 7 days. My wife and son were up there. I joined them over the weekend. And I have two quick observations. Seattle and the surrounding area, liberal land. Like, there's a reason this was the CHOP Autonomous Zone, famous from 2020. It is worn on its sleeve. The politics of the Northwest, everywhere you go in Seattle. My second observation is it's absolutely beautiful and can be in places really cool. Went to Pike's Place, seafood, fish market. That was really fun to see. Walked around a little bit, but even more so than that, the soccer tournament was in some of the suburbs of Seattle, Redmond, Washington, and you're playing soccer with like fields and fields. It's a massive tournament, 64 teams in the tournament, in the Valley of Mountains. You're surrounded on both sides by mountains. It's green, huge pine trees, perfect temperature, 70 degrees. I mean, it's really nice up there in the Northwest, which I'd only ever been to once before, in and out, really. And this trip is somewhat in and out, only there for what it was, a day and a half, less than 2 days. But they got something going up there. Unfortunately, part of what they've got going is the people and the politics.
It's the only problem
of Seattle. They do have some beautiful areas in some of these liberal areas. I submit to you, Colorado, New Mexico, Washington, California. But they do their best. They do their best to make it ugly. They do their best to make it unlivable. That's why you move to some place that's 100 degrees for about 100 days in the summer with flat topography. That's why they moved to Texas. All right, let's get to it, though, now with story number one. On Friday, the Supreme Court of the United States released opinions, one of which represented a huge victory for President Donald Trump. That was limiting the scope of nationwide injunctions handed down by federal district judges. There are something like 385 federal district judges across this great United States of America. And through Donald Trump's first 100 days, they had issued dozens of universal nationwide injunctions, much more than Joe Biden, much more than Barack Obama, much more than George W. Bush. Historical, really, in their subversion of the agenda of President Donald J. Trump. But according to the Supreme Court of the United States, they have overstepped their bounds. Injunctions will be limited to the parties before the court. They will not apply to the nation at large. Of course, you can have class action lawsuits that apply to a larger body of parties. But as would be expected, the parties to a case should be the ones affected by an injunction in the case, not everybody in the country, putting the judicial on the same level as the executive. Justice Amy Coney Barrett wrote the majority opinion for this case. And in it, she took on not just the idea of district judges limiting the president of the United States, but other justices on the Supreme Court who wrote in the dissent that this represented tyranny by the executive. Justice Amy Coney Barrett wrote, this instead represents, should it go the way of the dissent, tyranny by the judicial. The dissent was written by Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. And ACB wrote the following when it comes to that dissent. We will not dwell on Justice Jackson's argument, which is at odds with more than 2 centuries worth of precedent, not to mention the Constitution itself. She's writing she doesn't need to take the time to even give the dissent much of an argument based upon the merits, that on its face, it flies in the face of 2 centuries worth of precedent and the Constitution. Justice Jackson skips over the part because analyzing the governing statutes involve boring legalese, impugning Jackson's ability to actually do the job of United States Supreme Court Justice. Jackson writes on in colloquial language, never engaging really on the merits of constitutional law, precedent, statutory law, or as ACB writes, boring legalese. Instead, Jackson's dissent brings in, well, modern catchphrases like the following. Take a look at what she wrote here. I quote from the dissent. Instead, to the majority, the power-hungry actors are, ellipses, parentheses, wait for it, ellipses, the district court. She weaves in, like a 14-year-old girl, wait for it, into a Supreme Court opinion. Also, she writes, actually, for that to happen, the courts must have the power to order everyone, including the executive, to follow the law. Dash. Full stop. Everyone must follow the law. Full stop. Again, writing as though she is Gen Z on TikTok, not a justice of the Supreme Court of the United States, engaging in arguments on the merits because, as ACB describes, that would be boring legalese. This is actually pretty stunning writing on both behalves. You know, I went to law school back in the late 90s, and law school really is 3 years of reading Supreme Court opinions. That's what you do. You learn statutory law, you memorize certain elements of the Constitution, and statutes, but really what you're doing is reading the opinions of Supreme Court justices who are interpreting the Constitution, interpreting those statutes. You get used to seeing who is a lucid writer and who is not a lucid writer, whose opinions are coherent. What I mean by that is the quality of their rationale, their thoughts, and whose are not. Whose brain is tangled in a web of contradictions. And I mean that. You can read it in the opinion, but that doesn't make sense compared to the first part. And that doesn't reconcile with another opinion I wrote. And that doesn't even make any sense. I don't understand how he's connecting these sentences together, much less these thoughts. I'm telling you, you can read this. It's one of the most instructive things in learning about the United States Supreme Court. Less left, right, more, honestly, logical, illogical. It's a reverse engineer, honestly, how I ended up where I am, basically, in my politics. I didn't read Supreme Court justices as a conservative. I became a conservative by reading Supreme Court justices and understanding the Constitution. It honestly really is as simple as understanding who can see that 2 + 2 = 4, or who can twist themselves into arguments that 2 + 2 can actually equal 5 in some instances. And I mean that. That is basically what this boils down to when you're reading these opinions. And you'll see complete, coherent, rational thought from justices like Justice Clarence Thomas. And then you can take those with complete rational thought who can actually also be entertaining writers, like the best of all time, Justice Antonin Scalia. And then you can look at and read justices like Stephen Breyer and come away going, I don't know what I think. Or David Souter going, I don't even know what he thinks. Or Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I know she had an outcome and she wanted to write to get to that outcome. Treating the job like everyone else in politics, like politics. But you rarely see something as juvenile as what you see here by Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. You'll see a chart, by the way, of justices who have spoken during oral arguments, their first 8 cases at the Supreme Court. The least is like Clarence Thomas. He spoke 96 words in oral arguments. The most is, by a long shot, Ketanji Brown Jackson with something like over 3,000 words. She's followed by Justice Sonia Sotomayor and Elena Kagan. And again, I saw the comments when I saw this posted on social media, and people point to this as like Justice Thomas mailing it in, or you don't have to speak when your decision's already bought. And it just sort of represents the place that we are in society. It's like he speaks little, but writes very lucid. He has a coherent philosophy, but doesn't feel the need to peacock it from the stand during oral arguments. He famously doesn't see the value in oral arguments. Where the opposite is a justice like Ketanji Brown Jackson, who speaks a lot and writes incoherently. This is shocking, not just from her behalf, but also Amy Coney Barrett, who's just absolutely saying everything I'm saying, just a little more esteemed. A little more hidden, but still very obvious of how little she thinks of her fellow justice on the Supreme Court of the United States. The end result, though, is a massive win for President Donald Trump. No more nationwide injunctions. How does that apply, for example, to one of the biggest cases potentially before the Supreme Court, birthright citizenship? Well, they avoided that on its merits. They didn't decide whether or not it's constitutional, but they will have to soon. It'll come back. And with no nationwide injunction, we're going to find out. If you are born in the United States but subject to the jurisdiction of another country, are you born with the citizenship to the United States? For now, huge win for President Donald Trump. All right, let's get to whether or not Pete Buttigieg can win black voters, whether Zohran Mamdani can win mayor of New York City, and whether or not he can condemn, globalize the intifada. Next on Will Cain Country. Death to the IDF, chanted from the stage at Glastonbury and aired on the BBC. We're going to break that down with New York Post's Karol Markowicz. It is Will Cain Country, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, on the Fox News Facebook page. We hope you subscribe at Apple or on Spotify. Former host of Meet the Press on NBC, Chuck Todd, has diagnosed what is left for the Democrat Party. Who's left? Who is this odd collection of Bernie Sanders and AOC, of Chuck Schumer and Rahm Emanuel, of Gavin Newsom and Zohran Mamdani? What is it that ties these people together? Who are Democrats? Here's Chuck Todd.
Is the Democratic Party a left of center party?
I think you've just I think this is the identity crisis that they have. I think it's just a collection of people that don't like Trump right now. Right. And that's served them well in 20. But imagine trying to create a big tent that had AOC and John Kasich in it. Right.
Right.
You know, or how about, or Liz Cheney and AOC. You're sort of going to rip a hole in the middle, right, as you're trying to stretch that tent.
He's right. Even if he's late, a doctor that comes in after a patient is dead and everybody looks at the table and he goes, I think this patient has died. Thank you, Dr. Todd. You're right. You're just a little late to the diagnosis. It's a collection of people that hate Donald Trump. Karol Markowicz doesn't hate Donald Trump. She is the host of the Karol Markowicz Show and co-host of Normally, 2 podcasts you should get and subscribe. She's also the co-author of Stolen Youth, How Radicals Are Erasing Innocence and Indoctrinating a Generation. She's also a columnist both at Fox News and at the New York Post. Hey, Karol.
Hi, Will. Thanks for having me.
Chuck Todd is right, don't you think? There's no way to explain any ideological cohesion for the left. There's nothing left for the party that we call Democrats. It really is only defined by a collection of people that hate Donald Trump.
That's right. It's been like this for a while. I mean, at least since 2016, since he came down the escalator, they united around that message. But the problem is, while most of the party has been focused on that, the left wing of the party has been pushing it further and further to the left and trying to implement actual socialist policies. We see it with the excitement over Zohran Mamdani in New York City. Other Democrats are saying, how can we manufacture this ourselves? What could we do? And the answer seems to be adopt his really far left policies. So they're in a bit of a jam if Americans come to understand what they really stand for. The concern, of course, is if you get very charismatic people, they might move Americans to the left.
Let's talk for a moment then about Zohran Mamdani, the man who has won the Democratic primary for mayor of New York City. He still has some race left to run when it comes to becoming the mayor of New York. He's going to have to run again against Andrew Cuomo, Eric Adams, and we'll see if New York City is ready to adopt this kind of rhetoric, these kind of policies, this level of socialism. But it's important that everybody listening and watching also know who we're talking about when it comes to Zohran Mamdani. So he is a self-avowed Democrat socialist. And as an example of how far left he actually is, here he is saying, really, he doesn't believe there should be such a thing as billionaires. Watch.
You are a self-described Democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality. And ultimately, what we need more of is equality across our city and across our state and across our country. And I look forward to work with everyone, including billionaires, to make a city that is fairer for all of them.
It'll be interesting to see, Karol, what he does or proposes to get rid of the concept of billionaires. So he's talked about taxing people. He's talked about different levels of taxation for rich white people. He's even invoked race into how he would treat people differently as mayor of New York City. But he's not just Bernie Sanders. Maybe he's a little more akin to AOC because he's a mix of socialism and racialism, identity politics in a way that wasn't done by Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is more of an old school communist, just on class lines. And he's doing something interesting that is maybe more of a TikTok socialist, where he is doing both race and economics all mixed together into one message.
Look, the thing about billionaires is nobody has more power of movement than they do. Why would any billionaire stay in New York City while this guy says that he wants to get rid of them? And, my favorite billionaire, Cliff Asness, he's on X. He posts really funny stuff. He posted Mullen Labe, come and get me, basically. The idea of getting rid of billionaires, you're going to just move them to other states. It's not going to be a case where these people are just going to take it from this guy that they're going to live in New York and just have to get rid of most of their money because he says so. The issue of equality, he's not trying to raise anybody up. He's trying to pull people down. And that's ultimately what happens with communism. These people never get to rise. The equality that they talk about, everybody being equal and equity and all of that, it always means dragging people down. I hope New Yorkers will say no to this. If they don't, they will lose another tax base. They've already lost over the last 5 years billions and billions of dollars. I imagine that they're going to just continue to lose the very, very wealthy.
Let's try to make sense of this guy for just one moment, because there's a sense that he is, if not the future for Democrats, he represents a wing of the future for Democrats to embrace this kind of far left socialism. But there's also a conversation about how authentic he is, Karol. Like, you know, what is his story? He's a Muslim? He's a Democrat socialist? He's an immigrant? He's a lot of things, but we only know these things because that's also who he presents to us. And he at different times presents different people to us. And that came up, I think, to his face about him like changing accents depending on who he's talking to. And we've had this conversation, right? When it comes to Kamala Harris, even Joe Biden, code talking, code switching, you know, to different audiences. But here's what Mamdani had to say about his variety of accents.
On the subject of trust, you've adopted different speaking accents in different scenarios.
But they go to their local bodega.
Is there one that's real and one that's affected?
What I would say is, as any immigrant knows, having been born in Kampala, Uganda, and then raised in South Africa and moving here when I'm 7 years old, is there are different parts of my life. Worldwide tour is a worldwide tour is a worldwide tour.
All right, he's got several. He does, like, Karol, that was an Indian accent style you heard there from him on a couple of those, or Pakistani type of accent. He also does an African accent at some stops. He's done an African American versus African accent, and you could hear in that interview he just does kind of a generic American accent as well. And he kind of I guess, you know, he kind of says, yeah, that's what I do, depending on who I'm talking to.
That's ridiculous. It's so inauthentic. Look, I'm an immigrant. I also grew up in Brooklyn. I could also copy a variety of different dialects. You don't do it because it's not real. I'm sure you could do a variety of different accents. You lived in New York City. You live in Texas. You can manage any of those, but how come you don't switch between them? How come you don't just adapt them whenever you need to? It's fake. And that's the thing, is that all of these people, AOC pretending to be from the Bronx when she's really from Westchester, it's always the most privileged people that end up being this fake socialist thing, and they push other people into it. I think people fall for the act, and that's what it is. It's an act. He's able to act in different ways to appeal to different audiences, but it's still just an act. I'm
going to make a counter argument. Do you remember the scene in The Big Short when Steve Carell and his team are being pitched a series of credit default swaps to short the American housing market, and they don't know why this is being pitched? It's so counterintuitive, but the guy pitching it to him is Ryan Gosling, and he is a very much like finance bro, but acts like he's above finance bros. He's got fashion friends. He's pretty funny. He's actually the comedic relief character of the movie. And they're all supposed to be these big cynics, and they step out and they go, why are you listening to this guy? He's everything we hate. And Steve Carell goes, yeah, but he's so blatant in his self-interest that it almost makes him endearing. And I wonder, to your point, could I do an accent? Yeah, poorly. I've tried to do accents here on the show. I'm not good at it. And we should challenge you to some of your accents you can do growing up in Brooklyn. But the point is, everybody does accents. Everybody, you know, whether or not it's with your friends or by yourself, everyone driving in the car, you have an accent you can do. I don't care which one it is. You can do Jamaican you have fun with. You have an Indian one you do if you want to. Maybe you have fun with that one. But every single person listening, I am confident, does an accent. And then you're like, am I supposed to do it? Am I not supposed to do it? Is that cultural appropriation? Am I mocking it? What am I doing? You know, could I do it in public? This is an entire exercise that everyone does, that when we hear comedians do it, we feel cathartically released. And that's why we laugh. I'm going to argue to you that Zohran Mamdani doing this and owning it in that way could almost become appealing in it's so inauthentic that it becomes authentic. There's something to this where I'm like, if there were a politician willing to go in front of different audiences and do accents like this, not in a Kamala Harris, Joe Biden fakey style, but in a, yeah, I'm doing it because that's how we all talk here together. I don't know. There's a chance it could come off as endearing.
I hear you, but the thing is that we have Donald Trump as president right now, and the thing that makes him so endearing, I think, is that he's never anything but himself. He is always Donald Trump. He's never putting on an act. He's never putting on some sort of face. He's like, I like my gold toilets, and I don't care what you think about that. He's very much real. And I think we're in a moment where that kind of authenticity really appeals to people. Can people buy an act? Of course they can. But I don't know. I see it as we're in a very real moment because of Donald Trump. And I just don't see this kind of thing, people falling for this kind of thing.
That's the thing. I don't think you're falling for it if it's...
You're willingly going along with it?
Yeah. I think you're willingly going along with the blatant inauthenticity. I don't know. I think there's a trick in here, a psychological trick that could be pulled off. Mamdani has declined, on a more serious note, to condemn, I think was the word that was asked, the slogan, globalize the Intifada. I want to ask you about that. And I also want to ask you about this. This was from Glastonbury over the weekend, which is a music festival. And it is a singer that goes by the name Bob Vylan. And he was on stage. It was aired by the BBC. And here's what he chanted.
Free, 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 free. All right, but have you heard this one, though? Death, death to the IDF. Death, death to the IDF. Death, death to the IDF.
All right, I think these two are actually connected, Karol. It's pretty shocking. Let's take a moment, though, and just go, wow. It's pretty shocking that that's at a music festival that's aired by the IDF, by the BBC. By the way, for those that don't know, IDF stands for Israeli Defense Forces. First, let me just ask you what you think about both. Both Mamdani not condemning globalize the Intifada and hearing this from Bob Vylan on the stage, aired by the BBC.
I know people think that this is about Jews, and I want everybody to understand that globalize the Intifada is not about Jews. It is about bringing the struggle to American streets. It's about making sure that Americans feel pain, and that's really the overall goal. When they're driving a car into a crowd, into a Christmas market, it's not about, oh, which one of these people is Jewish. It's about hurting Westerners. It's about bringing down Western culture. That's globalizing the Intifada. Kill the IDF. It's the only reason that he's using IDF is because if he said kill the Jews, it wouldn't be quite as, probably get into some trouble in Britain. He might still get into trouble for even saying kill the IDF because Britain has pretty strict speech laws. It's scary that this is being normalized and that Mamdani, who wants to lead, America's top city, I would say, is fully on board with this. And there's barely any pushback from any Democrats. And they're all lining up to support him. The Chuck Schumers of the world and the Bill Clintons are all saying he's our guy because they're on the same team. This is someone who wants to bring down our country. And that's what globalize the Intifada means. I want people to really understand that.
I actually totally agree. I didn't know where you were going at first with that. Well, for what it's worth, we should mention, Karol, you're Jewish. You come at it from this perspective. I think this conversation is being made too simplistic when sometimes it's more complicated. But the end of that complication, it's simplistic in a different direction. And it doesn't. The way this conversation happens, I feel like publicly, Karol, is it's shocking examples of anti-Semitism. That's the way this conversation is largely conducted publicly. And that's not wrong, but it's not all right either, right? I guess that's how I feel. It's like, it's okay. Let's take them one at a time. Bob Vylan, death to the IDF. Okay, well, the IDF... Yeah, villain. That's what I said. Villain. Yeah. Death to the IDF. Okay, I hear you. He didn't say, death to Jews because that would probably actually cause some kind of crime in Britain. Also, it doesn't rhyme, by the way. But I think this one's harder for me, Karol, because like the IDF is a military. It's not an ethnic group, right? So am I supposed to carry that over to what he says this, but he really means this? And I think that I do think there has been an people have carried criticism of Israel into hatred of Jews. And I don't think that's fair. I think there is criticism of Israel out there that people believe, right, that has no connection to how they feel about Jews. Now, I can't speak to Bob Dylan. Now, this is where it gets complicated. There are some people who criticize Israel who do hate Jews. And there are some people who would chant death to IDF who do mean Jews. He may mean it like, I hate this military. I don't know Bob Dylan. But I'm saying a person could say that without meaning I hate Jewish people, right? And so that's where, like, I think this gets messy and it's not clean enough on that part of the conversation. Sticking with this before I go back to the globalized intifada. The hard thing is, if you told me, Will, I've heard other stuff by Bob Dylan and no, he definitely hates Jewish people, I'd be like, I believe you. Like, let me hear that. It wouldn't shock me.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting is that, yes, you can absolutely criticize Israel, hate the Israeli government, and not hate Jews. I find that doesn't happen that often, but okay. When you hear somebody say, kill the U.S. military, kill the Royal Air Force, do you think to yourself, oh, but they don't hate all Americans. They just hate just our military. Or do they mean that they hate the military that protects the rights and the people of this country? Because when you say, kill U.S. Marines, to me, that means kill Americans. I don't see them as something separate from the rest of us. I see them as part of us.
But Karol, do you think there's not a gradation that also deserves at least some weight in this conversation as well? I hear you. Yeah. I hate the IDF. Well, then you're saying, if somebody says I hate the United States military, they're saying I hate the Americans, right? I hate the IDF. I hate Israelis. But there's still another step between Israelis and Jews. Even though whatever percentage of Israelis are Jews, it's a political body versus a religious body.
Yeah, it's sort of tough because we are a people also where, when I'm an American first, but when Israelis are harmed, I understand that they're being harmed kind of in my name. They're being harmed because I'm not there and I'm not part of it, but they're being harmed because of who they are. They're being harmed because they exist in the Middle East. Like, it's not that people hate Israel and they'll be fine with a lot of Jews living in the Middle East, not in a country called Israel. They would not be fine with that. And they weren't fine with that before Israel existed. There were frequent murders and terrorist attacks on Jews living in the British Mandate of Palestine. So it's not like they're like, oh, we just don't want the country of Israel to exist. No, they don't want Jews to exist in Israel at all, in the Middle East at all. And the IDF is there to say, that's too bad. That's your problem. And we're not going to let, anything happen to these people.
All right. So on that part of this, I may be being I appreciate precision of language and I interpret things as precision of language. There can be people that hide things in semantics, but I do think that the only way we can truly communicate is to listen to one another's words and then do our best. I mean, the whole world is in this game of like, let me peer into your real motivations here. And I think that that's more dangerous than listening to someone's words. But I could also be giving him too much grace,
Yeah.
By the way, I'm actually not
but
giving
that's
him
okay.
grace.
That's,
No, but I'm
I
not
like
actually.
That about you.
I'm not. But no, Karol, but I'm not actually, because I don't care about Bob Dylan. I don't even know Bob Dylan, right? And I have no grace for this person. I just have grace for precision of language on the conversation. Do I think, like I said, if you told me he actually means this, Will, and I can prove it to you, I wouldn't be shocked, right? The question is whether or not
the follow-up thing is that I don't know anything about Bob Dylan either, but I would not be surprised that someone who hates Israel, for example, also hates America. They often go hand in hand. It is an attack on Western culture. It's an attack.
That's where I want to go. That's
all these things.
That's where I loved what you had to say. Okay, so that's what I love and agree 100% with what you had to say. Not just America, by the way, Western civilization, right? So, because here's Bob Dylan in a separate part of that concert. Watch this.
Heard you want your country back. Shut the f*** up. Heard you want your country back. You can't have that. the only place I know. Stolen right under my nose. My ignorant scum. Trying to lay claim to a land that ain't theirs anyway. Wait, what did you say? Like you want your country back. Shut the f*** up.
All right, so the lyrics there are, so you want your country back. Why? You can't have it. But shut the F up. I think at one point he says standing on stolen ground or something like that kind of thing.
Right.
It's the trite, anti-colonial, oppressor oppressed. I'm taking your country from you right now. I hate Western civilization. I'm taking it away. That's clearly who this guy is, right? And I think that is the revealing truth under all of this.
Yeah. I went to Glastonbury in the 90s. The talent was a little bit better than this. This is like really rock bottom.
What is it? Is it like Woodstock? It's
It
like
is. I also
Coachella?
went to
What is it?
Woodstock 94. I like that kind of thing when I was young and free. But that's the thing, is that these people, it's the leftism. I say this a lot because look, Jews are very worried in America, and I'm not going to lie to you. It is a concerning time for us. But every time that anybody says, "Oh, America is bad for Jews," or "America is doing this for doing bad things to Jews," I'm always very quick to be like, "It's not America. It's the leftist hellholes of America. It's these little leftist enclaves that are causing these problems for Jews." It's leftism in action. And the same thing with this Bob Villain guy. It's all around leftism. Does he hate Jews? I don't know. All I know is that he hates civilization as we have it. And it's sort of tough to watch people defend this kind of thing. But this is where we are, and we do need to defend our civilization. It's important. It's the best one that's ever been.
All right, so we want to take this full circle now, because who is Bob Villain? Even though there's like thousands of people there with him chanting what he's saying. Zohran Mamdani is the Democratic primary candidate for mayor of New York City, and he's the one that refuses to condemn globalize the Intifada. And he says in his answers, by the way, when pressed on that, I've heard from my Jewish friends or something like that, my Jewish constituents, how hurtful that can be. But he goes on to not condemn it. Okay, so maybe we can't say whether or not he's an anti-Semite or not. But I think what he's given us plenty of evidence of right there is, combined with all of his other opinions, like Bob Villain, he hates Western civilization and what it has built. Yeah. And while his vision may not be, I don't know, it could be Islamism, but he openly says it's socialism, right? Which is a weird combo. Like, which one is it? I go to a Pride event or I'm an Islamist. What is that? They don't exactly go hand in hand. But my point is, the globalize the Intifada is dangerous to all of America, to your original point, not just or necessarily Jews. Right. It is, and people are going to have debates about what that means, globalize the Intifada, and there are going to be those that are very firm believers it always means anti-Semitism, and maybe it does. I don't know. But one thing I can be sure of is it means what you just laid out, anti-Western civilization.
Exactly. And they say it. Mamdani is not hiding it. He's asked on a Sunday show whether he approves of capitalism, and he says no. Again, he's an immigrant here. How do you come to a capitalist country and say, I want to bring down the system. I want to get rid of this system. It's really telling that they have no problem admitting this kind of thing, that they want to change our civilization. Again, the best country that's ever been, not even close, and they want to change the way that we live and the way that we've succeeded here. It's wild and telling to me.
Okay, now let's take this truly full circle back to where we began when we talked about Chuck Todd and what is left for Democrats now. So I wanted to show you this polling that came out, and I believe, let's put this up on the screen, two-a-days, because I can't remember the polling company that put this out, but it showed Democrat candidates for president. Buttigieg leads overall. Take a look, two-a-days, while we're talking, so I can tell the audience who put this poll out. You or tinfoil. See if you can find that. Buttigieg is at 16%, Carol. Kamala Harris is at 13%, Gavin Newsom at 12%, AOC at 7%. But then it breaks it down by white, black, and Hispanic, which is pretty fascinating. All right, this is according to Emerson, the polling. Buttigieg, 0% among black voters. 0%.
Right.
Harris, 30%, right? By the way, AOC not real high with black voters either, at only 4%. She is higher with Latino voters, as is Gavin Newsom, by the way, which may be showing what he's doing in California, this grandstanding against ICE. I don't know if that's working or not. I don't know what that is. But it's pretty fascinating that Buttigieg is a big fat 0 with black
Yeah.
voters.
Yeah, I think you or I could do better with black voters in the Democratic primary than he's doing. It's really pretty interesting that he is seen as just this square white guy, and I think that is an image he's trying to challenge. I saw that he followed the UFC today, and that he's trying to be more of a bro and that kind of thing. But ultimately, he's been a really ineffective transportation secretary. He was the mayor of a small, South Bend, Indiana, and he's not really a national figure. He's trying to change that, obviously. I think Gavin Newsom and AOC are going to be kind of the ones to watch in the next round, just because they do have already this base of support. And Gavin Newsom, while I see him as, I think Dave Rubin coined him like a lizard person. I really do see that. Like, he's going to take off that mask at any moment. There's going to be a lizard underneath. He's still very popular, and he is able to deliver a message, and he goes into conservative spaces, and he makes the arguments, and he's really going to be a tougher nut to crack, I think, for the right than they think right now.
But I think there's another element to this Buttigieg thing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the fact that he's gay. Like,
right.
That black voters have not shown an openness on that issue, and that has been reflected on various election cycles, on various opportunities and issues. For example, in California, when they were voting on propositions to legalize or to do away with gay marriage before the Supreme Court took this off the electoral table, you could see black voters did not support gay marriage. And now you have an openly gay man with, paternity leave and taking those pictures from his bed. And I'm not sitting here telling you what you should believe, whoever's listening or watching. I'm telling you what the evidence suggests black voters think or believe about this issue. And that's pretty indicting right there, a 0% for Buttigieg.
Yeah, absolutely. The average black voter is fairly conservative. That they remain tied to the Democratic Party is something of a mystery. And they really do fit in a lot of ways better with Republicans. But they've traditionally voted for Democrats, and it's very hard to break through on that. I think that there's a lot of if you get off of that reservation, you're kind of shunned. I've heard this from black friends who are conservative, that they get a lot of abuse from the black community because of that. And it's tough, but eventually you have to do what's best for yourself. And I would hope that the average black voter who is more conservative would look at Republicans as a possible destination when Democrats inevitably force them out.
All right, then finally, Joy Reid was talking about the opposite sides when we're talking about the future, Rubio and Vance. And here's her prediction on whether or not they will step into the role of Donald Trump after Donald Trump. Listen to Joy Reid.
Marco Rubio believes in nothing. He's been a Catholic, he's been a Mormon, he's been an evangelical. He's whatever religion works for him in the moment, and he's also whatever ideology works for him in the moment. He's been a Bush-style Republican. He's been a supposed Tea Partier, which is the opposite of a Bush-style Republican. He's been for Ukraine, doesn't give a crap about Ukraine. He's been hard on Russia. He doesn't care if Russia is dominating the earth. He doesn't believe in anything. He thought Donald Trump was a small penis weakling, and now he thinks Donald Trump is God. Marco Rubio believes in nothing, but he doesn't even have the intellectual heft of a Ted Cruz, who's barely got any. He's got less. So he couldn't even be president.
Oh, man, that's super indicting. And she was uglier about Donald Trump, saying when he goes off to hell to meet the devil, that it won't be Vance either, was her prediction. But that was pretty scathing about Marco Rubio.
I mean, Joy Reid doesn't like him. Oh, okay. So suddenly I feel a lot better about him. I think
Carol, to be fair, that's what I actually think what you just heard from Joy Reid. Let's say it was Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance up on stage against each other running for president of the United States.
Yeah.
That what you just heard would be an argument made by J.D. Vance.
Well, and then Marco Rubio would say that J.D. Vance, basically called Donald Trump Hitler in 2016, and they could just go on like that for a while. I think you're also forgetting somebody else in the administration who could possibly be running for president. Your buddy Pete Hegseth, I think, would be a fantastic candidate. I am not just saying that. He has been stellar. I have never felt better about supporting him during the difficult times in the beginning. I think he's been just unbelievable. And look, I think if those three guys are three of the candidates the next election, then the Republicans will finally have an embarrassment of riches to choose from. Those are really strong candidates. Will they tear into each other? Of course they will. So what? You know, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson basically called each other child molesters, and then they were writing them to each other letters on their deathbeds talking about the amazing friendship that they had. It's politics. If you get into this game, you have to understand that there's going to be some tough hits. Got to learn to live with it. Sorry, Joy.
All right. What a great conversation, Karol. I think everybody should expect, if you go listen to the Karol Markowicz show, you're going to continue to get great insight and conversations like that. Or the show she co-hosts normally as well. Check them both out. Apple, Spotify. Where else, Karol?
Everywhere. Anywhere you get your podcasts.
Yep.
Thank you, Will.
Okay. Thank you, Karol. We'll see you next time. Again, make sure you check out Karol's shows there. Oh, I meant to ask Karol this. Last week, New York Times came out with their top 100 movies of the 21st century. That's since the year 2000. I'll tell you who number one is. When we come back from the break, I want you to think about your number one. I'll give you mine. We'll see if or where it ranks in the top 100. Coming up on Will Cain Country. '21st century, I want to be clear. 21st century. I feel like everybody jumps in and goes, Will, what about Tombstone? Not post-2000. It is Will Cain Country, streaming live at foxnews.com on the Fox News YouTube page. All right, top 100 movies, according to the New York Times, in the 21st century. Tinfoil Pat, Two-A-Days Dan. This will be interesting. This will be interesting to see what you guys select. So if I asked you guys your favorite movie, this is good. So I got one guy who's a total hipster who will pick something like, I don't even know, probably actually closer to some of my taste in movies.
You don't know me.
Like, you're probably a Wes Anderson fan. You know?
That's insulting.
I'm a Wes Anderson fan. So, and then you got another guy who I don't even know where he'll go. What would you say, Dan? Like, Tinfoil Pat?
I think he likes to go oppo, so like something that's not up there. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be on even the top 100 list.
No, not at all.
Really?
Yeah, I like Wes
he's got
Anderson.
a little
I
bit
like, independent movies. I'm really into independent movies that are a little bit different, you know.
But you're also a Marvel kind of guy, too.
No, I hate Marvel. No, I hate
You
superhero
like
movies.
franchises.
Like Endgame is number
You
one.
like
I hate
franchises.
I'm anti-franchise. How dare you?
You're anti-franchise? Wow.
I hate franchises. Except for, like, look, Lord of the Rings is great, but those are 3 movies about, the book series. So, like,
can I tell you guys
that's
something?
different than.
I talked about this last week, and Buck Sexton nominated one of the Lord of the Rings. I'm going to tell everybody this. I don't get Lord of the Rings. I'm not that into it at all. So I don't like fantasy. Not that kind of fantasy. I don't like, elves and magic and wizards. That's why when I liked Game of Thrones, it was a testament in my mind to how good it was. Because it takes a lot to get me over a dragon. Like, you put a dragon in there, and I'm like, out.
You don't know they weren't
But
real.
if I'm in, and you've got a dragon, now you've got something really good going on. So I love Game of Thrones. And Lord of the Rings is in that silly fantasy, like, when I say silly, like, it takes itself so seriously about its hobbits and its elves, and I have to match its seriousness.
Yeah.
And I don't match it. And so, therefore, but here's what I'm saying. Enough people think it's great that maybe I need to go back. Also, they're so long. The movies are so long, and the battles go on forever. Like, just forever, these battles.
Not long
with
enough,
the orcs.
some might say.
That was my critique
And
of the
it's
second movie.
It's super dark, is my memory, too. Like, literally, like somebody lighten up the screen. I can't tell what's going on. So, do I need to give it another shot? Is it a trilogy? Do I need to go back and watch all
Then
4?
there's the Hobbit movies. There's 3 Hobbit movies.
And see, like, they
the Rings
overdid
of Power
that.
series.
Don't do that. Don't watch that.
I think if you're out on fantasy like that, I don't think watching it again will bring you back. I don't think there's any chance.
But I liked Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is what makes me wonder, maybe I missed it.
Game of Thrones, besides some of the magic element, it's more about like people and human interaction, and it could be seen as medieval. You know what I mean? Like it could be real.
Yes.
Take away the dragons, take away some of the magic and all that stuff. It's about human nature, essentially. So it's not
100%
as much fantasy.
And he made it more.
That's right,
more
Dan.
Grimy than Lord of the Rings. He kind of took what Lord of the Rings did and made it more like geopolitical, and took all these weird historical events that kind of did happen in real life and transformed them in his world. And then he also had,
and that's what I liked about it.
So,
right,
is,
that's what I liked about it.
Doesn't have.
Yes. Okay, I'm still intrigued because you guys all put it up there so high, but that would not make mine. It did make this list of New York Times top 100 movies. Can't remember where it came down. I'm scrolling down, but here is I'll give you your top 5. How about that? According to the New York Times, of movies since the year 2000. Tell me if you've seen this. Any of these? Moonlight. Never saw it.
Pretty good. It's a very heart-wrenching story.
Can I tell you what I know about it?
Sure.
Like, all I know is gay black dude. Is that what it's about?
Sure, if you want to boil it down to just that. Yeah, whatever.
Gay black kid.
I'm just telling you, that's all I know. That's all I know.
It's a very powerful movie about the human experience for that person.
That's a different way. That's a different way to say it. Number 4, In the Mood for Love. Never even heard of it. It's is it in English? I don't even know. It's Asian. Oh, Sofia Coppola directed it. Yeah, I've never even heard of this movie.
I think she just said something nice about it.
Oh, you're right.
There are a lot of movies, like Asian movies, Korean movies, Chinese movies, that are very, very good that people overlook because of the language barrier.
That's true. You remember that movie, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once?
Love it.
Was that that wasn't in English, right, Dan?
It was.
I saw it. I just can't remember.
It was mixed.
It was? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, mixed.
Yep.
All right. Then number 3, There Will Be Blood, which was great.
Top 5 for me. That fits right there.
It's a top 5er?
Absolutely. Dude, I will watch that movie over and over again for the rest of my life.
What year did that come out? That came out
2007.
In 2007. I just want to see, because this isn't my top movie, but number 6 on the list came in 2007 as well. No Country for Old Men.
Yep.
And I liked it better than There Will Be Blood. I watched it over and over.
Yeah.
So it was a little overshadowed for me. Number 2, Mulholland Drive. I don't think I ever saw it.
I have a problem with this one. So
you do?
Yeah, I liked it a lot first time I saw it, but there's a huge twist in the movie, and once you see it once and know the twist, it's not rewatchable, really. So to be in the top 5, you have to be rewatchable. So I don't think it deserves to be there.
Okay. So like The Sixth Sense, you can't watch that again.
You can't watch it again. It's great when you watch it the first time, and it's fantastic. But once that's ruined for you, you don't rewatch it, so that doesn't constitute as a great movie for me.
Right. Well, I could do it because I never saw it. And then number 1 is Parasite. And by the way, that is an Asian movie that is not in English. I saw it.
That won Best Picture, and it transcended everything. Like, because of the language.
I don't think it's the best. I mean, it was good. I don't remember it being like this, like number 1.
I thought it was fantastic.
Did you feel that way?
Yeah.
Okay. So a couple of my favorites are on here. Like I said, No Country for Old Men's up there. I love The Royal Tenenbaums. Speaking of Wes Anderson, it came in at number 21. It's the best Wes Anderson movie in my mind by far. Absolutely loved it. I think Gene Hackman should have gotten an Oscar for that movie. He was so good. Royal Tenenbaums came out, I believe, in 2001. My dad died that year, and I have to tell you, in a lot of ways, Gene Hackman reminded me of my dad. Wow. So it was like super emotional.
Wow.
Emotional for me in some ways. My favorite line from that movie, my brothers and I and my sister and my wife all laugh, is the part like the two things that remind me of my dad is like what he wanted on his tombstone, right? Died at sea, saving his family from whatever, right? Yeah. I could see my dad want. But also, my favorite line is they're walking in the park, he and his ex-wife, and they're talking about how messed up all their kids are. And she's like, I messed up. And he goes, no, it's not your fault. It's my fault. Or anyways, it's nobody's fault. He accepted responsibility for all of about a second and a half. Or anyways, it's nobody's fault.
That's a good line.
Okay, but my number one, I'll tell you guys ahead of time, isn't in even the top 100. Didn't make it.
Hipster.
And I find that incredibly disappointing. So let's go around the horn. I'll go last. Tinfoil, what's the best movie of the 21st century?
I have to say No Country for Old Men is up there for me as number one. Like, I just really enjoy it. I can rewatch it. You know, I just love the Coen brothers in general.
Agreed. Yep. Big Lebowski, I had to double check, came out in the 90s, so I couldn't put the Big Lebowski in there. Mm-hmm. Okay, Dan.
My number one is Interstellar, without a doubt. I've seen it 100 times, and I will watch it 100 more times. I think it is the best. I think
that came in like in the 80s or 90s on this list, right?
Yep, it is.
It made the top 100, but
absolute favorite. Has everything.
Gladiator was way too low on this list.
I like Interstellar, Dan, and I have rewatched it. It's so complicated, I feel like.
That's the best part.
Like this.
You could learn new things every time you watch it. That's why.
That's true. Like about physics and
everything.
And space-time continuums and black holes and all that.
It's a torrid love story between, kids and their parent. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, mine's not that.
I love science, but
not that complicated.
I'm not a fan.
I love Westerns. And the thing that's great about No Country for Old Men is it is a Western, but it's a modern-day Western. Mm-hmm. And I really like that idea. I love that concept of making modern-day Westerns.
Oh, I know yours.
From the what would you say, from like the 1950s through the 1970s, it was really the number one genre, Westerns.
Yes.
Clint Eastwood and John Wayne made their careers on Westerns. And you wonder, I thought about this, like the Old West, at the point at which they were making those movies was about 80 to 100 years in the past. And it's crazy that it held that romanticized vision for so long, and why it doesn't today. Like Westerns do not dominate today, right? And I guess World War II movies are pretty fertile ground for people to make movies now, and that's about 80 years in our past by the same token. There are modern-day Westerns that have done well. Django is a version of a modern-day Western, Django Unchained. I don't know what else besides that in No Country. Wind River, really good.
Really good.
I think it's a bit of a modern-day Western.
So good.
I mean, yeah, Deadwood
for me,
is a TV show.
Yes, but that's not a modern day Western. I'm modern in its making, but not in its setting. What I mean is like taking the Western themes, the lifestyle and everything, like Yellowstone did. Yellowstone's a modern day Western of sorts, right? But as much as we like it, it's not on the level of the things we're talking about here.
Landman count?
Yeah, I'd call that a modern day Western pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, well, certainly
any Taylor Sheridan show.
Culture.
No, but Sheridan had a movie that came out.
This is Taylor Sheridan's genre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's brought back the modern Western.
Well, you're jumping the gun here, Patrick.
Oh, no. Okay, sorry.
That is my number one. It is Hell or High Water.
Just ruined it.
I love it. It is a modern day Western. It's thematically. First of all, I love Jeff Bridges. If Jeff Bridges is in something, I pretty much love it, like no matter what. Also, I'll tell you what I've learned, that an actor that I really like, obviously not enough to remember his full. Oh, it's Ben Foster. Ben Foster plays the crazy brother in Hell or High Water, and every time he's in a movie, I end up liking his character.
You ever seen Alpha Dog?
I think he's a.
with him?
No.
The best.
No.
That's his best character, Ben Foster. Watch Alpha Dog.
You think it's? I love his character in this movie, in Hell or High Water. You think it's better than that?
He's great, but it's a smaller role. But in Alpha Dog, he is a psycho, and he's so good at it. It's unbelievable.
He's good at that. Like this character in Hell or High Water.
Yeah.
You believe this character will do anything, right? I'll tell you who's pretty good at this same kind of role is Jeremy Renner. Like he plays this kind of guy in The Town, right? Ben Affleck's buddy. It's like, hey, we got to go do something. I can't tell you who, can't tell you where, and I can't tell you why. All I can tell you is we're going to hurt some people, and you can't ask me questions.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I have one question. And he's like, what? Whose car are we taking?
Yeah.
Like,
badass.
that is badass, and you believe this guy is that kind of guy.
It's hard to do.
Yeah, with the Boston accent, yes. That's Ben Foster in this movie. And this guy, you actually know, I know these guys in real life. I have friends of these guys. I'm down, fiercely loyal, right? Fiercely unpredictable, but the predictable thing that you know is they're going to be there for you, you know, if you're in their circle of whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And, but also the themes, like there's a scene in that movie with Jeff Bridges and his deputy who's American Indian. They're talking about the banks taking over these towns. And, you know, like, he's like, you don't get it. You're the Indians now. The deputy says that to Jeff Bridges and the sheriff. They're taking this from you. I don't know. I think it's incredible thematically, action.
Also, Chris Pine.
And it's set in the West. Yep. Chris
He
Pine. Yeah.
He was always like a rom-com actor, and he did great in that. He kind of stepped over into that role. I mean, he's done other dramatic things, but he really surprised me in that.
Isn't his big thing Star Trek? Isn't that kind of where?
Yeah, he was Kirk. Yep. But he's goofy and, you know, whatever. There's some seriousness, but he really played that role well in Hell or High Water.
Yeah.
Agree.
It's an awesome movie. Awesome movie. That scene where they go to the restaurant with the mean as a snake waitress.
Ugh. Unbelievable.
It's great.
The stand. I won't give it away, but
anyway, I think that's my favorite movie of the last 25 years. Hell or High Water. Taylor Sheridan movie. Let us know yours. Drop into the comment section on Facebook or on YouTube. We'll hope you'll be back tomorrow. Hang out with us again. Same time, same place. We'll see you next time on Will Cain Country.